Hi, welcome back to our third video in the series on how to get into Trello. So we've already discussed how the board works, how it's set up, how you can adjust these things, how cards work, that we can archive cards, we can move these cards around. And we had a quick look at the end of the last video on how we can add additional information to the cards. So if we click on the card here, we'll see we've added a bit of a description there. But on the right hand side here, there are a ton of different options that we can use to add useful information to the card. Okay, so we'll start off with the main section here, which is the comments. Okay, so we can add comments to a card. So just like you would add little post-it notes, I guess, to a folder or notes to a folder of work that you're working on. So we're going to go in here, we can write a comment and say ordered domain this morning, it's ready to go. Okay, and then we're going to click on save. And you can see what it does, it puts down a timestamp on when it happened. So just now, that will adjust as we go. And if you hover over, you can actually see the date and the timestamp exactly. And this is live as we go, so it will update as we move further on through the remainder of the day and weeks, months, years. It'll have who made the comment. It'll have what the comment is, and I can even go in there and edit and delete it as well if it's not appropriate. Okay, so this, as you can imagine, the activity on the card can get quite long because as we start moving it around, it's going to keep a record of what happens with the card. Okay, so we can hide and show these details. So as you can see here, if we hide, it's going to keep those comments, but you can see here exactly what's happened with the card. Okay, so 7 minutes ago, Lee moved this card from to-do this week to today, then you moved it to inbox to do, and then you added this card to inbox. So it's telling me basically a rundown of detail of what's happened to the card. Okay, so I can click and show those. If for some reason a card is adjusted, you can actually find out who did it, which is a really useful tool in Trello. Okay, so moving to the right-hand side, there's some basic stuff when it comes to productivity tools that you're really going to want to utilize. Okay, now the real obvious ones that we can see here is a due dates, a checklists, and attachments. Okay, so they're sort of three things that you would expect to want to see in any kind of productivity tool. But there's a couple of extra ones here. We've got labels, which we'll look at. We've got members who are part of the board, members of the board, and then you've got cover as well here. Now you've got some additional options here at the bottom here. We've got our archive button here, which we did a shortcut of in the last video, and we've got a copy, so you can duplicate the card. We've got a template feature here that will actually turn the existing card set up as it is exactly into its own template, so you can reuse it. But we're going to just focus on these top ones over here to begin with. Okay, so if we click on member, we can click on that and it'll show you all the members of the board. Okay, so I'm the only member of the board at the moment, but I'm going to click on my name and you can see as I adjust that, and I can toggle that on and off just by clicking, adding and removing. If I add it there, it'll have it all of a sudden at the top of the card who the current members are. Okay, so if I'm on there at the moment, but I could have 10 people. I could have 2. I could have 3. It could just be other people and not me if I was purely passing work around, which is excellent. We've got below that we've got a labels option. So what I'll do, I'll just close this down as we go to see how this card updates as we start to add more content to the back of it. So all of a sudden it's got my name on there. It's got a comment on there, so you can see how many comments have been written. And I've also got a little eyeball, which means I'm watching this card. So if I've got other people working in on the board and I'm not available to see the board, anything that happens to this card, I want to be notified. Now we're going to cover notifications later on in this course, but it's good to know that it's there. So if you click back in the card, we're going to add a label. So a label might be useful to say add priority, or to add if if it's work for a client, it might be their client name. In this case, we're going to add priority. Okay, so we can purely use colors, and if we just close that and we close it down, you'll see now it's got an actual little red label on it. Now, if we go back in there, we can adjust these and we can give it a name. Okay, so we're going to, if I go back there, we're going to hit the little pencil to the right of the color, and I'm going to say urgent. Okay, and save. And here we can adjust the color that I'd like to use as well. So there, and there we have an actual name for whatever the label is. So that makes it a bit clearer. Now, if I go back into the board, you'll see there's the color. I can click on this directly, and it's going to toggle on the name of the label. So that's handy while you're still learning, or if it's a real not just a visual board, you really want people to know, especially with new staff. It's always good to turn this on so it's really straightforward. Okay, so there's our label. Moving on down, we've got a checklist here. So we can create multiple checklists on the back of each card. Okay, so we're going to just say to do. And we're going to go add. And now we've got a list of to-do items that we need to then add to the card. Okay, so if we just roughly say set up hosting, and if we can just hit return, and it's going to go to a new line and give us a task to do. So we say set up hosting, we're going to say install website software, add content, and then test, of course, don't forget to test, and then go live. Okay, so there's our tasks that we need to get up and moving. Okay, so if we just close the card, you'll see now we've got an extra little icon here that shows that there's tasks available on this card, and none of 5 have been completed. So if I go in here and I say, cool, the hosting's been set up, you'll see a nice little percentage bar here to show what's been done. It'll highlight that it's been ticked off. We can also click on hide completed items, and it's just going to drop it off the list. So depending on what you prefer, you can change that. So if we close that, now you see our little icon has adjusted here on the back as well. So let's just go back into the card. There's only a few more to go here. So a due date, which is quite important for a lot of things that need to be done. So we're going to say, cool, it's going to be due on the 22nd, and we can set a due date time as well. So let's go 2 p.m. and it's going to adjust as we go. Now, further on down this list, you can set a reminder to say it's due on at 2 next Friday, but I really need 2 days before to make sure that I'm organized. So I'm going to save, and then it's going to give us a due date. Now we can go in here and adjust this if need be. What's nice though is that you don't need to, once the due date's come and gone, we can tick it off to say that it's completed. Okay, so if we close on that, you'll see now we've got a due date that also populates the front of the card, which again, when you have quite a few of these going in your board, it's a nice visual just to quickly see where things are up to. Okay, we've got 2 more to cover. Attachments, so we can attach files, we can attach links, say from a website, we can attach other Trello cards, we can attach Google Drive, Dropbox, and OneDrive, of course, to there. So if we just go to computer, it's going to ask if we have a something to add there, and we're just going to go this screenshot here. It allows photos, it allows any kind of files really, and the free Trello account allows up to 10 megabyte sized files. So that covers most documents and quite a lot of images and things too. So we're just going to go OK and open, and it's going to upload it to the back of the card, and it's going to do something else here too. It's automatically made it our cover image. Now, not only does it look nice at the top here, our cover image, but if we close it down, you'll see that it's actually showing now on the front of the card as well. Now, this can be annoying for some people, but depending on what you're doing, it could be a really nice visual indicator of what needs to actually, what the card's actually about. So it might be, some people use set images for types of jobs and that sort of thing, color blocks of color, maybe just big headings so you can see, but we can actually turn this off. So we say go down here to where the attachment is and go remove cover. It's going to remove it. It's still going to keep the attachment, but it's going to remove the cover. Okay, and that's where we get our last option from there. So we can upload a cover. we can select from what's already uploaded. We can just simply toggle that on and off. Okay, so that's our video. It's a bit of a longer one, this one, but you can see here there's quite a lot of information that can be stored in Trello, and that's what makes it such a powerful tool. So stick around. We're going to have a chat about in our next video about how we are notified, how Trello handles its notifications. So we'll talk to you in a moment.